In the golden calm of a Los Angeles morning, a cry no one else seemed to hear shattered Evan Hale's routine and his life. Inside the hotel's trash compactor room, he discovered a newborn fighting for breath, abandoned on cold concrete. But the terror deepened when a frantic note slipped from the baby's blanket, warning him not to trust anyone in the hotel. As Evan struggled to protect the fragile life in his arms, the walls around him began to feel less like a workplace and more like a trap. And when someone with too much authority called his name through a locked door, Evan realized he wasn't alone. He was being watched. Evan Hale had cleaned that hallway 1,000 times, but he had never heard anything like the thin, trembling cry that drifted from behind the steel door of the trash compactor room. It sliced through the morning hum of the hotel like a warning, too soft for most people to notice, too desperate for him to ignore. He froze mid-step, mop handle slipping in his grip, as the sound fluttered again, fragile as a bird trapped in a cage. His pulse thudded. Guests chatted down the hall, rolling suitcases over polished tiles. Housekeepers moved between rooms. Sunlight streamed through the lobby glass. Everything looked normal. Everything except that cry. He pushed open the heavy door. The smell of disinfectant mixed with damp cardboard rushed out. The room was lit only by a flickering fluorescent bulb. Evan stepped in slowly, eyes adjusting to the shadows. For a moment, he thought the cry had been a trick of the ventilation system. But then he saw it. A small bundle on the cold concrete floor, wrapped in a white hotel towel, trembling. His breath vanished. No, no, no. He knelt, hands shaking as he pulled back the corner of the towel. A newborn. Skin mottled, breaths shallow, eyes squeezed shut in exhausted panic. A hospital band still clung to its tiny wrist. Evan's heart ricocheted painfully against his ribs. He had never even held a newborn before. Now one lay in a trash room, fighting to breathe. "It's up's okay," he whispered, voice cracking. "I supso got you." The baby whimpered weakly at the sound of his voice, as if clinging to it. He stood, scanning the room for anyone else. Nothing. No mother. No footprints on the dusty floor. Whoever had left the child had done so recently, and quietly. He needed help, now. Evan wrapped the baby tighter and hurried toward the door. But as he lifted the towel, something slid out, a small folded piece of paper, creased as if held in terrified hands. He snatched it up, tucking it against his palm as he rushed into the hallway. The hotel's world moved in slow motion. Guests laughed near the elevators. A security guard scrolled his phone. No one seemed to notice the trembling bundle in Evan's arms. He ducked behind a service pillar and unfolded the note. 5 words. Just 5. Dawnstead Trust. Anyone in this hotel. His stomach dropped. The letters were jagged, written in frantic haste. A smear of something darker stained the corner, something that made his throat tighten. He glanced around, suddenly, hyper-aware of every camera lens, every passing employee. The manager, Mr. Caldwell, strode across the lobby with his usual stiff confidence, barking orders at a receptionist. Caldwell's eyes swept the room with the precision of a man who always noticed when something wasn't where it should be. Evan Sett's instincts screamed. He had to get the baby to safety. But not here. Not with that note. Not when he didn't know who had written it, or what danger it implied. When he turned toward the staff elevator, a housekeeper nearly bumped into him. Her eyes flicked to the bundle. Is everything okay?" Evan forced a smile. Laundry. Someone left it in the wrong place. Her gaze lingered a second too long. "You sure?" "Yeah," he croaked. She nodded, but her expression didn't soften. She watched him until the elevator doors closed. Inside, the baby stirred, letting out a tiny broken cry that twisted something deep in his chest. Evan rocked gently, trying to soothe him. "Hang on. I said I'm taking you somewhere safe." I promise. The elevator climbed to the staff floor. Evan stepped out, heading toward an unused maintenance room where he knew the cameras didn't reach. His footsteps echoed like accusations. He slipped inside and locked the door. The room smelled of old paint and metal dust. Evan laid the baby on a folded jacket and checked its breathing. Still weak but steady. He reread the note, hoping he had made it up, but the words stayed the same, glaring back at him. Who had written it? The mother? Someone helping her? Someone who knew the hotel wasn't safe? He thought of the guests, the wealthy businessmen, the quiet families, the celebrities who demanded privacy, the staff who kept secrets because secrets kept them employed. In a place like this, power could hide anything. Evan's mind spun. He needed to call 911, but the note's warning clawed at him. What if calling too soon put the baby in more danger? He was still deciding when the overhead light flickered, buzzing loudly. Evan froze. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, right outside the door. His pulse hammered. He held his breath, listening. The steps paused. A shadow shifted under the door frame. Then a soft knock. Evan. A voice. Calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that felt rehearsed. You in there? Caldwell. Evan stared at the baby, fear slicing through him. Caldwell knocked again. I need to speak with you. I know you found something this morning. Let's talk. Evan backed away from the door, clutching the note. There was no way Caldwell could know, unless someone had been watching. Unless someone had seen him in the trash room. The baby whimpered again, louder this time. Caldwell Sipsa's voice hardened. Open the door, Evan. Evan swallowed, heart racing so violently he thought it might break through his chest. He looked at the baby, then at the door, then at the single window across the room. A choice, a terrible one, and the wrong move could destroy them both. His hand hovered, trembling between the bolt on the door and the cracked glass of the window. Every instinct waged war inside him. He could stay and face a man whose intentions reeked of hidden truths, or he could flee into a world that would never believe a janitor's claim over a manager's authority. The baby let out another soft cry, barely more than a breath, but enough to steady him. Evan knew then that whatever waited beyond that door was not safety. It was a trap tightening. He lifted the baby, cradling the fragile weight against his chest, and took one silent step toward the window, just as the doorknob began to turn. Caldwell's hand tightened on the doorknob, metal ticking in short, patient bursts, like he was testing how long the lock and Evan would hold. Inside the maintenance room, Evan stood rigid, the baby pressed against his chest, heartbeat pounding against fragile ribs. Evan, Caldwell called, voice smooth and professional. Open the door. We need to talk about what you found downstairs. The words from the note flashed through Evan's mind. Don't trust anyone in this hotel. He scanned the room. An old backpack slumped in the corner. He dropped to his knees, lined it with towels, and laid the baby inside, leaving the zipper half open for air. Tiny fingers caught his thumb, then relaxed. I forgot you, he whispered. The doorknob rattled harder. Last chance, Caldwell warned. If I have to bring security, this becomes a problem. Evan shoved the backpack beneath the bottom shelf, deep in shadow, slipped the folded note beside the baby's shoulder, then forced his face blank and opened the door. Caldwell filled the doorway, suit immaculate, eyes sharper than his polite smile. A security guard stood behind him, arms folded, gaze sliding past Evan into the room. You took your time, Caldwell said. Everything all right in here? Pipe leak, Evan answered. Valve was stuck. Caldwell leaned a little, trying to see around him. We reviewed the cameras, Caldwell went on. You were in the trash compactor room twice. You looked disturbed. Anything down there I should be aware of? Just broken bottles, Evan replied. Didn't Set want guests walking by and seeing it? Caldwell let the silence stretch, studying the tension in Evan's shoulders. Glass, he repeated quietly. That's Sep's all. That's Sep's all, Evan said. A beat. Then Caldwell nodded. Good. Remember, your job is to report problems, not investigate them. Some areas are above your pay grade. Understand? Yes, sir. Caldwell's eyes lingered 1 second too long. Then he turned away. The guard followed. Their footsteps faded. Evan closed the door, lungs finally releasing. He pulled the backpack into the light, checked the baby's chest, then unfolded the note. The paper felt thicker than it should. A corner had started to peel. He pinched the edge and lifted. Underneath, faint letters appeared, pressed into the backing. Room 2310. He knows. Please help her. Please help my baby. A room number from the top floors. A hidden hid. A plea that trusted a janitor more than the hotel itself. Evan glanced at the hospital band around the baby's wrist. Rylan, the last name. The time-stamp said the boy was only hours old. Someone had carried him out of a hospital and into a trash room. That's not where your story ends, Evan murmured. He tucked the note into his pocket, settled the baby back into the backpack, and slung it over his shoulder. The weight felt heavier now. In the staff corridor, life moved as usual. Carts squeaking, voices rising and falling, phones ringing, cameras blinked red from corners. Evan stepped into the staff elevator and hit the button for the 23rd floor. His reflection in the metal doors looked like every other invisible worker. When the doors opened, the hotel changed. The carpet thickened. The air cooled. Doors stood tall and heavy, brass numbers shining. 2310 waited at the end of the hallway. He listened. A faint, muffled sound came through the door, a choked breath, a smothered sob. He knocked. Housekeeping, he called quietly. Just a routine check. Chains slid. The door opened a crack. One eye, red and swollen, stared out. We didn't ask for service, a woman whispered. I found your baby, Evan said. The chain dropped. The door flew open. She stood in a hotel robe, hair twisted into a shaky knot, hospital bracelet still tight around her wrist. Her skin was pale, eyes hollow from crying. Her gaze locked on the backpack. Please, she rasped. Tell me he sets breathing. Evan unzipped the bag and lifted the baby into her arms. The child whimpered once, then settled against her chest. The woman folded around him, shaking. I didn't want to leave you, she whispered into his hair. I said sorry. Evan stepped inside and closed the door. He said if I kept him with me, we said both disappear, she said. He said nobody would ask questions. Who is Thetis? Evan asked. Her eyes flicked toward the ceiling, to where cameras might hide. You shouldn't Set be here, she whispered. If he knows you saw this, you Set finished. People like him don't Set lose. Someone left a note, Evan said. Room 2310. He knows. Please help her. Please help my baby. Was that you? She nodded. I thought maybe a stranger would care more than his lawyers. What's Sep's his name? Evan asked. You really don't know, she said. He owns this hotel. His last name is on half the skyline. Rylan. Evan felt the name land like a weight. He'd heard it whispered by staff. We can call the police, he said, though doubt colored his voice. He golfs with the police, she replied. They sit'll say I zet some unstable and hand my son to him. The baby fussed. She rocked him gently. My name's Sips Lena, she said. His is Noah. Rylan is his father, not his future. Their set's a maintenance room. This hotel forgets exists, Evan said. No camera. I can hide you there while we find help outside. Lena searched his face. Why would you risk anything for us? Because I found your son in a trash room, he said. You don't set walk away from that. They moved quickly. Lena changed into jeans. Noah tied close against her chest. To anyone passing, she was just a tired mother following an employee. They rode the staff elevator down. At the maintenance room, Evan unlocked the door. "Stay here," he said. "Lock it. Don't stay open unless you hear my name. I said I'll get a phone and formula." He heard the lock click, then walked away. At a corner store, he bought a prepaid phone and baby supplies and rushed back through the service entrance. The staff corridor felt wrong, somehow, when he returned. "Lena," he called. No answer. The handle turned easily. Inside, the room was neat. The backpack lay open and empty. No Lena. No Noah. On the middle shelf waited a single folded page. "We saw you, even," it read. Taped beneath the words was a tiny hospital band marked Rylan. The hotel hadn't just taken them. It had turned toward him.